Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name's Jane Hewitt and I'm the Capability Building Coordinator at Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand. Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand are part of the Info Exchange Group, a not-for-profit social enterprise that tackles the biggest social challenges through the smart and creative use of technology. And you can check out our calendar of online events that are coming up for the rest of the year on both the Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand websites. So welcome today to the webinar Calxa for Larger NFPs with Mick Devine. And before we begin today, I'll just start with a bit of housekeeping. All lines are muted, so if you have any technical issues, please type them into the questions box and I should be able to help. Likewise, if you have any questions during the webinar, please type those into the questions box and we'll have a Q&A with Mick coming up at the end of today's webinar. And just please note that your questions and comments are not visible to anybody else. This is being recorded and you'll be receiving a copy of the recording and the slides towards the end of today. And if everybody could take a couple of moments to fill out the survey at the end of today's webinar, we'd really appreciate that. So that's all from me. I will pass over to Mick to get things started.
Thank you, Jane. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. So what I want to do today is talk a little bit about how Calxa works for larger not-for-profits, tell you a little bit about, what Calxa is for those who don't know, and give you a bit of background about why is this interesting at all, and show you what you can do, and help you decide whether it's worth looking further or you're happy with the reporting that you've got, and go on from there. So Calxa is a reporting tool that has been around in various forms since 2001. We did our first version, working with MYOB then, and then over the years we added in Xero, we added in QuickBooks, and worked very much at that smaller end of the market. We don't work exclusively with not-for-profits, but around 2/3 of our customers are not-for-profits, and it's something that we've specialized in over the years because we recognize that many not-for-profit organizations, even the smallest ones, have complex reporting requirements and needed better ways of managing those reporting. So we really strive to give flexibility of the reporting, flexibility of budgeting, and making that process easier for people. So there's a lot of reports that are designed specifically for not-for-profits, so looking at unspent budgets, being able to rearrange and summarize accounts easily for things like grant acquittals, and then automating the process by bundling reports together for different audiences and scheduling delivery each month. And we've also tried to make our reports easy to read, especially for non-accountants, because I was going to say I am an accountant. Not that I do any accounting these days, but I'm also keenly aware that not-for-profit board members very often aren't accountants, aren't very experienced in accounting, but they still have financial responsibilities to take care of the organization. So they need information that's understandable and readable that they can use to make the decisions that they need to make. So we've very much tried to focus on that sort of information. Budgets, we know, can be complex. You need different versions of a budget. You need the approved budget that gets signed off and locked away. You need the forecast that you're working on during the year. You need to do budgets for programs, and sometimes you want simple things and quick ways of doing things. Sometimes you want to dive into the detail and build up budgets from different components. And then it's about giving individual users their control on their reports and running reports when they need to, that sort of thing. So why do we work with larger not-for-profits now? And if you'd asked me 5 years ago, I would have said that people using the larger accounting systems, the NetSuites, the Oracles, the MYOB Advanced, they don't need Calxa because they've got report writers in the accounting system that can do what they want. But I've been educated since, and I've seen the error of my ways. And apparently life's not quite that simple when you move to the bigger systems, the more complex systems. And just talking to our customers, we've been probably 12, 18 months since we added the option in Calxa to work with any accounting system and just import data manually. And the things that we hear from our customers are they like that when they want reports, when they want choice and flexibility in their reporting, they can do it without having to go back to the IT people or their external consultant to customize a report for them, which they often need to do in the accounting system. The accounting system reports aren't necessarily or aren't often very attractive, so they're not great for presenting to board members, management, whereas that is something that we at least try and do with Calxa. If you don't like orange, that's fine. You can change the colors. And it's about having that set of reports that we provide that's all ready to go. You don't have to build from scratch. And it gives the finance team a bit more control over the reporting. They can extract data from the accounting system, bring it into Calxa, and manage the reporting without having to go to external consultants, without having to go to the IT department every time they want a different report. So I thought it might be useful to look at, some of the things that some of our customers have said. It's about with Leanne from Act for Kids, it's she's got reports for different programs, different regions, and she needs to be able to report at the individual level, but also consolidate those and run them at different levels. She's tried doing it in Excel and exporting it from the accounting system, but that's time consuming. I was talking to Dax from Yarra, who are Aboriginal corporation in Western Australia. For him, it's about giving his board members readable reports that they can understand, that they can work with, and not have to wade through reams of paper. So for Debbie from Youthtown, she uses MYOB Greentree, but she likes the flexibility of the budgeting in Calxa, and the different layouts we have, different ways of doing budgets. And then Secret Sounds, it's about being able to consolidate in different ways. So, I think a lot of it's about flexibility. And So maybe what I will do now is switch into Calxa and give you a bit of a tour and show you how it works, and then you can make an assessment of whether it looks like it's going to be something that's useful for you or not. We do have a donation program that we've run through Connecting Up and TechSoup for the last 10 years for smaller not-for-profits, but there's also a discounted program through Connecting Up and TechSoup as well. So for those who don't qualify for the donation, so I'll find some information on that for you later. But this is Calxa. It is cloud-based, and it's about creating a manual organization, and then you import the data that you need. So you can import your chart of accounts. So generally you would export it from your NetSuite, MYOB Advanced or whatever, and to a spreadsheet or a CSV file, import that in. Business units are programs, projects, departments. It's just a generic term there. So you can import lists of those. And then importing actuals is probably the thing that you do on a regular basis. The others are pretty much just set up tasks. But once that's done, you can import actuals, and there's a fairly flexible import process. If I can quickly find an example, I think that one should give me something to work with. So, you can choose with balance sheets whether you're importing closing balance amounts or movements. You can import as credits and debits. By default within Calxa, we keep income, expenses, assets, liabilities as positive amounts because we do work with a lot of non-accountants. But if the stuff's coming out of your other system as debits and credits, you can import it that way. And then it's just about matching up the fields here with your spreadsheet and then bring it in. And I might show you what the data looks like when it comes in. If I go to, actually, so the chart of accounts comes in, and you can edit it further if you need to. And account trees are where you then rearrange that chart of accounts and group and summarize things. And if we look at, I might just look at a different example there, just to show you some of the things that you can do with account trees. So we bring in just a flat list of accounts to start with, but then you can create headers here and just drag accounts from one header to another. You can drag a header onto another header to make a subheader, and structure your accounts the way you need for your management reporting purposes. And accounting systems, whether they're small ones or big ones, tend to be very much geared towards the needs of finance people. And, fair enough, finance people are generally the main users of accounting systems. But what we're doing here is creating management reports for the people who are running the systems, the program managers, the board members. So we can create headings that use terminology that makes sense to our audience. We can, use totals. I can have operating surplus deficit here rather than operating profit, those sort of things. So I can customize all that to get the structure I need. And then if I just go to the budget and actuals section and just select my organization here, and we can add our data at the department level and have it then roll up to the organization level, and that works for budgets as well as actuals. And when you're, if you're manually typing in your actuals, then it will recalculate the out of balance amount, so you've got a balanced set of accounts there. You can bring in both the income cost of sales accounts, and then you'll find the balance sheet accounts down towards the bottom. And in the display here, we show the movements on those accounts, and that's how we work in terms of entering budgets and actuals. But when you're importing them, as I said, you can import the closing balances, and we calculate the movements from that. And then once you've got those actuals in, and talking to some of our customers, they'll generally involve the IT department as a one-off task to provide an export of a trial balance by department for each month, export that out of the NetSuite MYOB Advanced, whatever it is, and then a simple import into Calxa each month. And from there, you can take advantage then of our budgeting process. So if I just go and look at the budgets and show you how they work. So you can budget for up to 20 years ahead, and the date range defaults to whatever financial year you've set up, but you're not limited to that. You can budget on a calendar year basis. You can budget for the next 6 months, next 12 months, or just any random date range. So, if you had a project that started in May and ended in November, you just budget on the May to November side of things. And then when it comes to entering budgets, let me find one where I've got some examples set up. So you can do some fairly simple stuff like, just type numbers in. You can type something in the total, and if there's existing numbers, it will change them proportionally. If there's nothing there, it will just spread them evenly. So if I change that from 180 to 360, it doubles each month. So you can do simple stuff like that. You can also, that one should work. If you contract a heading, you can edit a header row there, and I can change that from 5,000 to 10,000, for example, and it'll update the underlying accounts again proportionally. So a few things like that, and the same if you wanted to change the layout to month, quarter, or year. So if you're budgeting on quarters, it stores it as months underneath, but you can enter things at the quarter or annual level. And then you can do formulas to do calculations. So my purchases here, I've got a formula that links to my sale of goods account and my ticket sales, and multiplies that by 0.4 to calculate the purchases. I've got a formula here that is the number of cups of coffee sold times the price of coffee, and those non-financial metrics we bring in here. And again, you can import these each month. You can create as many different metrics as you like. So I have got my cups of coffee here, and somewhere I've got the price of coffee. Yeah, but it could be, the number of participants in a program. It could be, I've got a calculation here for somebody's work days, and I've got a formula on that. If we just have a quick look at that, where it's just a repeating formula where Angela works Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday every week, and it calculates how many work days she does every month, and I've got a daily rate down here, and then I can set her monthly pay as the number of work days times the daily rate, and then up in my budget, I calculate the sum of Angela's wages and Fareed's wages and so forth. So you can do some moderately complex stuff with formulas. Never as much as a spreadsheet, but I guess the compensating factor there is the structure and the link to the accounts, so that it all fits together. And just one more thing on the layout side of things, when you're working with business units, so I can now, for example, select my wages and salaries account, and then I get all my different projects down here, and I can say I want to adjust the wages and take, add 1,000 to that project and take 1,000 off that project, and that sort of thing. And so especially if you're doing adjustments on one account across multiple projects, just changing that layout allows you to do that. And it's those sort of flexibilities that are what our customers like about the budgeting in Calxa. And you can have multiple versions of your budget. I mean, most people don't have as many as I've got here. My sample data tends to grow with time, but you'll generally have an approved budget that you set at the beginning of the year and get signed off by the board, and you can mark that as read only so nobody can make changes to it. And then the current forecast, which is the one that you make changes to as the year goes on. And and then sometimes you'll need to do some scenarios for different planning purposes, and it's easy to just make a copy of the budget. You just go copy budget, give it a name that makes some sense to you, and then edit that budget, and then you can report on it. And there's a cash flow report where you can compare two different budgets, that sort of thing. So that's, the budget side of things. I might flip over to reporting side of things and show you how that works. As I said, we have a lot of preset reports and charts. So you can do line charts and bar charts and waterfall charts, and there's range of reports. The idea is that you can filter them down here, say actual versus budget on profit and loss, and I want numbers, and get different selections depending on what you need. And then once you've selected a template, you get more choices then about what you actually put on that template. But the idea is that you shouldn't have to make those choices repeatedly. There's a little bit of thinking about what's the right report for each person first, but once you've done that, you put together a bundle of reports for each audience. So it might be one for the board members, one for the finance manager, one for the CEO, one for a program manager, and they'll have different levels of detail depending on their needs. And some will have more charts, some will have more numbers. Again, tailored to what they need. But once the report's in a bundle, it's all the settings and everything are saved. And so the idea is that you would just come along and say, I want to run this bundle for May or June or whatever. And you go run bundle, and whether it's got 2 reports or 20 in it, it'll just generate the whole set of reports, and you don't have to think about the detail. And as an extension of that, with our workflows, I go settings, workflows, send management reports, you can create a workflow that says, send this bundle of reports to this list of email addresses, and do that on the 7th of every month at 3 o'clock in the morning. So the end result is that your users should get a consistent set of reports at a consistent time each month. And then so production is easy. And the role of the finance people then is firstly a bit of normal reconciliation checking, but then analyzing the contents of the reports and what needs to change in the business. So I might give you some examples of some of the types of reports that you can do so you can see what they look like. There's a document editor, so you can do a cover page or an executive summary or something like that. Lots of reports comparing actuals against budgets in different ways. So this one's got actual budget variance for the month, year to date, full year budget, and what's unspent or unearned. And you can run this for 1 program, 3 programs, 20 programs as you need. And I've summarized this one at a fairly high level, so it's not got all the detailed accounts, so you can choose that level depending on the needs of your audience. And you can add KPIs to the bottom of reports, and the built-in KPIs are fairly standard accounting ratios, but you can create your own from groups of accounts or non-financial metrics. And it's a great way of highlighting information that's important to particular people. You can add notes to the bottom of reports. Profit and loss forecast, actuals year to date, budget for the rest of the year compared to the projected total. Gives you the projected total and compare that to the full year budget. And again, you can run this at a program level, the organization level, etc. You can do a cash flow forecast, so showing the predicted bank balance month by month for the next 12 months, and the bars show the different components of that. So green's income, blue's expenses, red's liabilities. So you can provide your board members with a cash flow forecast so they know that the organization's sustainable, not going to go bankrupt, but it's visual. It's not going to confuse them with lots of numbers. But for those of you who are accountants, you can do the same thing with numbers. The bank at beginning will be the closing balance of the previous month, and then income coming in, cost of sales and expenses going out. And for the timing of payments and receipts, we look at the average debtor days, average creditor days in the accounting system, and from that create a schedule to estimate what gets paid or received this month, next month, the following month, etc. But you can override that on a line by line basis, and we've got processes for dealing with things like grants that are received in advance and those sort of things that make cash flow forecasting a little bit tricky in the not-for-profit world. The wages there shows the net wages, and then we've got some asset movements, My GST, I've got quarterly here because this is an Australian one, but we've got all the standard New Zealand and Australian and some of the international schedules. So you just pick a schedule that suits you. Same with superannuation. And I've got that's a grant that's received in advance there. And then you get the net movement, bank at end, overdraft if you've got one, and available funds. Business unit summary. This is a departmental report showing one line for each department: income, expense, profit, budget, and actual for the month year to date. So it's a good overview report for senior board managers, senior board members or managers that want to know the big picture of, are these projects or departments on track or not, but don't need a detailed profit and loss report for each one. So it's about giving people the right level of information for their role in the organization and having the flexibility of doing that. And then wages to turnover, that's one of our standard KPIs. You can do a line chart, you can do a bar chart. And in this case, I'm showing actuals, budget, last year actuals. So that's a typical set of reports. You can export that to PDF or Excel or print it. Don't get too many people printing reports these days, but some do. It still happens. There's, sometimes still a place for printed reports, but I guess there it's even more important that it's a concise set of reports that gives people just the information they want without lots of fluff. Yeah. So that's the basics. I might just show you how to, some of the things you can do with filtering a report. If I just show you the actual versus budget report. Let's not select detailed deleted jobs. So I've got a selection of business units here that I've called Bob's Consolidated, and then I've got my board report account tree here. I can choose to run a monthly or a quarterly report. I can show KPIs. I can run it at different levels. Level 2 is a fairly high level summary. Levels 4, 5, 6 would be fairly detailed level reports. I can show some or all of the accounts, so if you've got a department manager who just needs the expenses because that's all they're responsible for, you just give them the expenses section. You can highlight variances and show account numbers or not, that sort of thing. Refresh the report. And I might just pop that out to another tab, just to give you a quick look at that. Make it a bit bigger. So simple report, actual, budget, variance, month, year to date, and my accounts summarized down the side here. And this is for my consolidated set of reports. And then the idea is, once you've filtered it the way you want, you then add it to a report bundle and say, I'm going to add it to this one here and call it budget for Bob. You can make that the title of the report, add it to the bundle, and then puts it at the bottom there, and you just drag it up or down to whatever position you want. And that saves all those settings and configuration. And each month after that, you can then just come along and say, I want to run this bundle for May, June, whatever, go run bundle, and it will run that whole set of reports. Or as I showed earlier, you can create a workflow that will send it automatically. So that's what Calxa does. And hopefully that's given you some idea of why some of our larger customers are using it. See if that relates to your needs or not. Some of the accounting systems that our customers are using, we have quite a few of using MYOB Advanced, and I think that's mainly because those people have historically moved from, they've grown out of the MYOB account right and moved up to Advanced, but others using things like SAP Business One, Attaché, NetSuite, Oracle. So different systems with, all with slightly different needs, different requirements, but it's about, just getting that information into Calxa, putting together a bundle of reports for each audience in your organization, and then from there, letting it run every month is pretty much it. So bit of thinking in the beginning and set up work in the beginning, but once you've done that, the idea is that producing those reports should be a simple process each month. Now, does anybody have any questions? I'm not seeing any questions there yet. Jane, are you?
No, there are no questions coming in, unfortunately.
We're a quiet lot today.
Yeah. If anybody does have any questions, please do either shout out now, or you can get in touch with us when we send the recording later on today, or contact mick@calxa.com for a demo.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Mick, today?
No, there is a 30-day trial if anybody wants to just jump in. Just go to the Calxa website. You can just sign up for the trial there, or email me and we can do a one-on-one session and I can go through any questions you've got. And I see we've got a question from Jackie.
Jackie's just asking KPIs. Could you show an example, please?
Let me have a look. So let's do that a couple of ways. So with the KPI builder, so KPIs are built from either the non-financial metrics that we saw in the budget area, or from account groups where you basically set up a group of accounts. Let's go to change companies, go to this one. So I've got marketing costs here. Have I got something selected here? So I've just created an account group for marketing costs and ticked the different accounts that relate to marketing. And then in the builder, let's go and find, I create a KPI that's marketing to revenue. And actually this first part that's checking for a division by zero is not necessary anymore. And to create that, if you just go components, marketing, so marketing costs divided by, I go total income, refresh the preview. I've set it as a percentage up here, and then it gives me a preview so I can see what that looks like month by month for the last 12 months. And then I can then go to reports and I can say on a KPI report with a bar chart, for example, and if I do the multi-period one, I can choose my marketing costs here somewhere, and I can show actuals and budget, and I can do this for any date range. I can do it monthly, quarterly, annually. I can show how many months or quarters I want to show. and then I get a chart comparing actuals against budgets for my marketing costs. Does that answer that question for you, Jackie? And that was a simple KPI. You can do more complex ones with multiple lines of calculations, but we generally recommend people start simple, but you know, sometimes you have complex needs.
Lovely, thank you very much. That looks like all the questions we have for the moment. But thank you, Mick, and thank you everybody for joining us today. And please do keep an eye on your inbox for the slides coming along later on this afternoon. And do get in touch with us or with Mick if you have any more questions. Thanks very much, and thanks everybody for joining us. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
Mick.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.